Should the Bears sign Le'Veon Bell? That is the theme on today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham, as always. So before I get into my thoughts, answer the question. S for sign, type P for pass. Should Chicago sign Le'Veon Bell now that the Jets have released him? If you think they should, type S. If you don't, type P. I'm going to give my thoughts coming up on Chicago Bears Now. So let's get into the news of the night after the Jets cut ties with Le'Veon Bell on Tuesday night. We thought Tuesday Night Football was the biggest story going on in the NFL. Nope. The Jets were like, we're moving on from Lev Bell because we can't find a trade partner for him. And look, this has been a disaster, right? Since they signed Bell to that big 4-year, $50+ million contract after he sat out in 2018. Hasn't looked like the same running back. However, the Jets are a mess. So is it more on Bell? Is it more on the Jets? That offensive line's a problem. Adam Gase stinks. I'm not sure, and I actually think the Bears make a lot of sense for Le'Veon Bell because I love David Montgomery, and you could argue that he's a better back than Bell at this point. But what do they have behind him? Artavis Pierce has been called up, Cordarrelle Patterson, Ryan Nall, like Tarik Cohen's out for the year with a torn ACL. He could help. At least Bell could give you some of that receiving punch, you would think. Patterson hasn't been great as that RB2 on this Bears offense. I think Lev Bell, for the right price in Chicago, could make some sense. Came back this past Sunday, actually ran the ball fairly well after spending 3 weeks on IR. So that is the news. Le'Veon Bell is a free agent, and there are going to be a lot of teams interested in his services. Now, before we continue on this, Bears fans, subscribe to the channel because we're covering the hot topics around the NFL and the Bears, like the idea of signing Le'Veon Bell. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Plus, turn on that notification bell so you never miss any video just like this one. The link's below, but just click the red button, turn on the bell, select all, and you will never, ever miss a video here on Chicago Bears Now, Bell with the Jets, it hasn't been pretty. This is in 17 games since the Jets signed him last year. 3.3 yards per carry, hasn't even hit that 1,000-yard rushing number. Only 3 touchdowns. That is the big surprise here. He was a touchdown machine in Pittsburgh, and he has not been able to replicate that in New York. Receiving-wise, okay, but, 7.2 yards per carry. He was better in that area as well. More explosive with Pittsburgh. Now, obviously, sitting out the year in 2018 was not the best move for him. He got paid. Money-wise, it worked out. But in terms of performing at a high level, I think that has really set him back because he lost a little bit of that burst when he sat out in 2018. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. Is Le'Veon Bell washed up? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Is he washed? I don't think he's washed, but he's not what he once was. I think there can be an in-between there. I don't think everything that happened with the Jets was all on Lev Bell. That is a dysfunctional franchise, so I don't think he's washed. Let me know what you guys think. Y for yes or in for no. Now, if you can get this version of Le'Veon Bell, or even something close to this version, obviously 2015 only played in 6 games there, but he was arguably the best running back in the league in Pittsburgh, scoring a ton of touchdowns. He was a workhorse, 321 carries in 2017, which is why he wanted that new deal in 2018 and ultimately sat out when the Steelers tried to tag him. But he was fantastic, and he was even better, you could argue, as a receiver. Look at how much of an impact he had in the receiving game as well. Over 600 yards in 3 of the 4 years. Again, 2015, only played in 6 games. He was a top 20 NFL receiver at times. Like, he was really, really good as a complete running back. He's good in pass protection, which we know the Bears could use some more of that because this offensive line isn't great. And that's a factor two here as well. Is this O-line hasn't been great recently. Does that mean Bell's just going to come in here and break a bunch of tackles like David Montgomery has to? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. But for the right price, I would take a chance on Lev Bell. I really, really would. Before we continue, I want to tell you about our sports betting partner, BetRivers. We've told you guys about our new sports betting partner a couple of times. Want to continue to do so. Go to chatsports.com/BetIL, and if you're in the state of Illinois, you can place a bet, but you can deposit from anywhere, and they'll match it 100% deposit match. What does that mean? You deposit $250, they'll give you an additional $250 for free. They'll match you all the way up to $250. You can deposit, get signed up from anywhere, but you must be in the state of Illinois to place a bet. So if you live there or if you're going to be traveling there, keep that in mind. Plus, for new customers only, we can hook you guys up with a Bears jersey for free if you get signed up and deposited and place a bet with BetRivers. After you do all that, email us, bears@chatsports.com. We got all kinds of Bears jerseys available for you guys. This part of it, new customers only. So if you've already got going with BetRivers, this doesn't apply for you. But we are offering this to new customers through the end of the month until Halloween comes and passes. So go to chatsports.com/BetIL and then email us, bears@chatsports.com, to get you guys a free jersey. It's a great deal. Take advantage right now. So let's kind of look at the Bears' current running back situation. David Montgomery, a player I really like, kind of average numbers, right? First 3 weeks, he was really good. Past 2 weeks, the offensive line has broken down, and he has not looked the same. That's more on the O-line, in my opinion, than it is on David Montgomery. As a receiver, I still want to see the Bears get him more involved, but if you bring in a guy like Le'Veon Bell, he could certainly help you in this area as well, because you're missing that with Tarik Cohen no longer on this roster. So who's the better running back right now, today? What is it, October 14th, 2020? I'm not talking about career, not talking about all time. Who's the better running back right now? Type DM for David Montgomery. Type LB for Le'Veon Bell. Let me know what you guys think. I think you could go either way. Curious to see what your answer is. Obviously, Tarik Cohen being out for the season has really been a bummer for him personally, but it's hurt the Bears. I mean, he's kind of that lightning to David Montgomery's thunder. He gives you some punch in the receiving game. He's a misdirection guy. Hasn't been available. Also special teams as well. That's been a major loss. They've turned to Cordarrelle Patterson, but he's kind of just been all right? I mean, I like Patterson. I like getting him involved, but he's not a natural running back, and that shows on tape. The fundamentals aren't super sound for him at running back. I don't mind giving him carries, don't mind giving him touches, but I do think Lev Bell would be an upgrade. He would certainly be an upgrade from a guy like Ryan Nall, who his only stats is 1 catch for 2 yards this year. He hasn't been super involved so far. Then obviously Artavis Pierce was called up recently once Tarik Cohen went down. But if we're being frank, the Bears only have one proven running back on this roster, and that is David Montgomery. Getting a guy like Lev Bell, especially if it's cheap, I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'll ask you guys one more time. Should the Bears sign Le'Veon Bell? Type S for sign, type P for pass. We talked all offseason how the Bears could use another running back. It makes even more sense now when a guy like Bell becomes available and with Tarik Cohen out for the season. I'm typing my S for sign. I think this makes sense. I think the Jets are a mess, and I'm going to put this debacle more on New York than Lev Bell. Go sign Le'Veon Bell. What's the risk? People call him a diva. This is not an A-B situation. Lev Bell's fine. I would go sign him and see if he can help the Chicago Bears team.